One. We're live.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We have a special show for you today. We've just come back from the Florida Audio Expo 2024, Florida International Audio Expo 2024. It was the 6th year in a row.
Yes.
And it was by far our best show that we've ever had and our best turnout. You know, we worked really hard to get a new group of individuals to come to the show. And the show was actually sold out prior to the 1st of November, actually. And so for us, it was a fabulous success. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about next year. But we have special guests today, folks who were at the show. And first and foremost, we have Michael Geftis, who is with Michael's Audio Adventures and Tweaks. Did I get that right?
You did. Good job, Mike.
Yeah, all right. I mean, that's a full mouthful there, but you were at the show, and we appreciate you coming. You were one of 60 press that we had at the show, and you and I spent some time together, talked about different rooms and things like that. We also have Mike here, who is local. Mike Bowser is local, and he was at the show as well. And he'll give some insight into the rooms and things that he liked. And then we have, of course, Mike Malley and Rick. So we have 4 Mikes and a Rick. Now, you are a token non-Mike, so that's
maybe an honorary Mike.
You were an honorary Mike, exactly. Yeah. 4 Mikes and a Rick. So
that sounds like a drink you get at a bar.
Yeah.
Oh, well, exactly. Mike, I wanted to actually start with you and get your impression. This was your first time coming to the Florida Audio Expo, and I wanted to get your impression of the show, the environment, the atmosphere, the rooms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was really impressive to see. For me, what I was struck more than anything else, especially where I think so many of these shows have this perception of people being stuck up and audiophiles, I couldn't get over how friendly everybody was, from the staff to the people who had the showrooms and even just fellow audiophiles. So I was really just amazed at the sense of everybody felt like they were there for a good reason. It was family. Everybody loved talking to each other. And it was really just conversational, relaxed, and so enjoyable to go from room to room. I loved having all those different things under one roof.
That's great. That's great. And let me ask you a couple. What were some of your takeaways from the first day of the show? You know, I know you were there for pretty much the whole show, but what were some of your takeaways?
My first takeaway was, holy moly, how much work everybody who's got a room there goes through to get the rooms set up.
Right.
It's just unbelievable the amount of hours and effort people put into that.
Right.
I was also struck in just the wide variety of sound, and price had no bearing on whether I liked it or not. Mm-hmm. It was really interesting that there was such a wide variety that you could listen to. Mm-hmm. So the other thing is that there were some speaker types that I traditionally hadn't heard, that I did not think would be for me, that I frankly was blown away by. Mm. And that was really exciting.
Now, one room that you and I talked a lot about, and I don't sell it, so I'm pretty neutral here, but was the Margolis room.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So when I go into a room, the first thing I listen to is, first, what's the overall tone? If something is too bright, too bassy, it's tough for me to get past that. In fact, you and I had talked about another room where you thought the speakers were good. I thought the speakers weren't, but you informed me that that was the electronics, and you knew that, and you were able to listen past those electronics.
Right.
I have difficulty doing that. So the first thing I listen to is tone. Then I listen to, okay, what's the ebb and flow? And what's the emotional impact? And then the third thing I listen for is overall coherence. Mm-hmm. Do I just feel like everything is working together, or do I feel like there's different frequencies in different parts of the music that's fighting each other? And the Margolis room, I walked in and I was just instantly struck. I didn't have to listen for any of that. I was just like, this just seems so coherent, so musical, and so put together right, that I was just really, and I had never heard of them prior to this show. Mm-hmm. I was really floored by it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Margolis room was really outstanding. Extremely musical room. Really, really, really good stuff. What other rooms stood out for you?
I really like the diptych speakers. Am I saying that right?
Those are those the panel speakers?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
the French
the
ones.
Oh
French
yeah,
ones.
they sound
Yeah,
great. They
those.
sound really good. Yes.
Yeah, those sounded really good. For me, the other thing that I was struck by was I liked both the Clarisis, but the larger Clarisis room, it was just, first of all, the bass was phenomenal. I am a bass head. I love bass, but I don't like artificial bass. I like it when it's there to really be there. And that was just very musical and just seemed like very cohesive, and you were there.
Yeah.
So that was, to me, just unbelievable. But I really think that the other thing I was struck by is that there were some other brands that you always hear great things about that, for me, I don't think there's any such thing as bad sound. I think there's just sound that's not your particular style.
Right.
It was interesting to hear some of the other rooms where, tonally they were good, but I just found it tough to engage with them emotionally, which I know is a whole subset. Some people love that. They go after that tonal, and that's great. But for me, it was really all about finding that emotional connection.
Excellent. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And some rooms you go in, they're not playing the right type of music that you can relate to, and that's a big part of it as well. Or you go in, it's kind of packed, it's hot, and it's there's too many people talking and things like that. And that's something that you have to deal with. I will say, I walked around, I heard most of the rooms, and not to be too self-serving, but I will say the Clarisis room we had, the big Clarisis room with the VAX and using the all-analog crossover, I thought was just, for me, I mean, and I'm biased, but I thought it was on a different level. I thought the realism, everything about it, it was just completely on a different level. And I was really, really pleased with the sound we got this year. And a big shout out.
But even your smaller ones, is it the minuets?
The little
that are running that VAC integrated that I have? I mean, they sounded larger than life.
Yeah,
they did.
They did. And a big shout out to the people at VAC. They pulled off, a major feat by getting us 6 big mono blocks, the statement phono, the statement preamp, and delivering it on time. Now, it was all brand new gear, which is interesting. It was all just made at the factory, and they literally brought it over on the Tuesday morning. That's what people don't really understand, is that the shows, we're setting up for days trying to get, the room right, the lights, the plants, the equipment, the racks. We have to build it all. It's a big undertaking.
Oh, by the way, Mike Florian is in the chat. He said, "Love you guys."
Okay. Well, we love him too.
We love him too.
By the way, he owes me dinner in Chicago, so I'll be taking him up on that.
He's up late today.
I know he is up late. Yeah, he's got new Solution gear. He bought Solution 757 and a 727. So he's been rubbing it in about the new Solution 757 has a built-in tape stage.
I saw that.
Yeah. So
I saw the pictures
Mike,
too.
while you brought Florian up, I do want to mention what was great is you see so many of these designers and of their gear and stuff. And I say this as a shout out and a positive to Florian. He was there and he was rocking with his speakers. I mean, he loved the way it was sound. And it was so great to see a designer that is so passionate about their gear and just enjoying the music. I thought that was great.
Completely agree with you, 100%. The other thing I want to mention about VAC is that we wanted to try a VAC integrated in the little room. And the funniest thing is I kind of casually mentioned it to Kevin on Thursday. Now, the show didn't start till Friday. And he's like, listen, I'll have Brent working all night. The team will have you a VAC integrated by tomorrow morning before the show opens. And I'm thinking, you have to be kidding me. And they pulled it off.
Yeah.
They walked in there and they delivered a brand new VAC i170 IQ SE integrated amp. We hooked it up and it was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
It was really, really, really good.
We needed it. It was an emergency.
It was an emergency. Yeah, we had a bit of a technical glitch with another piece, but Kevin came to the rescue. Kevin and the team at VAC came to the rescue, so it was a big shout out to them, and it sounded fantastic.
It did.
Even though it was brand new, it sounded great.
It did.
So,
and you could hear the evolution as hours went by, how they got from being pretty good out of the gate to becoming exceptional.
I mean, all brand new gear, brand new power supplies, brand new tubes. Everything is breaking in as the show is going on, and that's sometimes how it goes, you know. But we ran them. We started them on Tuesday, so by Friday, Saturday, they were starting to get some, you know, 100+ hours on them, and away we went. We did have a bit of a hiccup with the Strom tank. We had brought in a Strom tank 5000, two 2500s for the power amps, and then a third 2500. And unfortunately, the 5000 just didn't work. There's something, it got damaged in shipping, and we were on the phone with the great people from Strom tank trying to get it fixed. And there was, when they started talking about, we're going to overnight you parts and there'll be soldering to do, we were like, okay, we're just going to go with the shitty hotel power and make do. So that's what we ended up doing. But AudioQuest brought two 5000 power conditioners, and we were able to run all 6 amplifiers and the crossover, no problem at all. So we used the Strom tanks, the 2500s for the sources, and that worked out really, really well. But
also, Brett Applebaum is in the chat, and he just said he can't wait to get his Claris's studios.
Yes, the guys will be there on March 1st. I think you guys are flying in March 1st to do the install on March 2nd.
I think so.
And we'll be packing up his Borisons and putting those up for sale. So, yes, excited to get those hooked up for him. Any other rooms, Mike, that come to mind?
Honestly, Mike, it was overwhelming. And I say that in a great way. I say that in an exciting way. I did notice that one thing I learned, kind of what you had just said, is when you go listen to them on the first day, you need to go back on the second day.
True.
There were numerous rooms that sounded different, sounded better. I'm sure they were tweaking overnight. I'm sure gear was burning in. But there was just a lot of not rooms that, to me, I mean, there were a lot of rooms that sounded good, but those are the rooms that I walked away from like, holy moly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to say, even whether it be the diptych type speakers or your Clarisis, I never realized that those, I mean, you know me, I'm more of a horn guy.
Right.
I love horns.
Right.
But I was surprised that those speakers could live up to something that I could very easily live with.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. And some speakers, you go in some rooms and you know right away, this is my kind of sound, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I will say this, though. There was one room that had lots of flowers in it, and holy moly, did that set my allergies off.
Really?
I walked in and I was like, 5 seconds later, I was like, I just can't do this. I was sneezing everywhere.
Wow. Mike, how did you find, and the only reason I bring this up is on the Part-Time Audiophile podcast, there was mention that they were a little discouraged by the amount of chatter in the rooms. Did you find that to be a problem?
Not at all.
Okay.
And I was actually sensitive to that because I hear people talk about that. What I personally experienced that in 99% of the cases, I mean, there was 1 or 2 cases where they really were distracting, but I saw, because a lot of the rooms had like a little kitchen area. So I would see distributors or dealers take them into the kitchen area and talk to them, or take them outside. There were a lot of conversations outside in the hallway.
Right.
So I personally did not experience that.
Okay, good. That's good. Mike, how about you? What rooms, you were at the show, you know, for a couple of days. What did you like and what did you listen to?
Well, I think that in addition to the rooms that you guys have discussed, and I'll be fully transparent, I own the speakers. The NBL room sounded fantastic.
It did.
Yeah.
Jeremy and the guys from United Audio always managed to put together a really good sounding room. And not to mention the partying that goes on after hours. But that was outstanding. It was good to see that Jeremy used in this show the Warworld Platinum cables, which make a huge difference.
Yes, agreed.
With the NBL gear. I was also impressed, and I've been surprised that hasn't gotten much coverage. the MSB room.
Yes.
Vince set up a full stack of MSB gear from the reference DAC to the director.
The amplifiers.
And the amplifiers with excellent speakers. And while the speakers were a bit large for the room, that room sounded pretty darn good.
Yeah, Vince always manages to get really good sound. Yeah, and that was another one of those really good musical, very engaging. You could sit there all day and listen to it. Yeah, I totally agree. Back to the MBL room. I don't know if you noticed, but Jeremy was actually using the new MBL C41.
C41, the new streamer.
And he was driving the giant 9011 amplifiers directly from the streamer, because it has its own volume control. So that was a special treat to see the 101E Mark IIs with the 9011s, because we always see it with the 9008s, which is great amplifiers. But it was a treat to see it with the 9011s and the new streamer, which sounded quite good.
And, you know, reasonably priced.
Yes.
I was surprised when he told me that, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
For less than $13,000, or around $13,000. Yeah. So don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
So that was an outstanding room. It's a room that surprised me, and Mike, you might have gone to it. Was the Black Cat Audio with the Magnapan LRSs, the little guys.
Aren't they amazing?
They're
amazing.
Just blew me away.
They're amazing speakers. I mean, and what are they? $800 or $1,000?
They're about $1,000 these days, but still a heck of a deal.
But you and we've had Magnapans, and your brother still has them, and we've started with Magnapans, you know, and that planar sound, it's very hard to forget. It's a great sound.
A couple of other lines or speakers that I was impressed with, from Denmark, the little Borisons, the X1s, little stand mount, about $6,000 a pair, or maybe $6,700 if I recall.
Right.
They sounded terrific. And next model up for about $8,800 sounded terrific. So the Mega System sounded great, but there were also some really good jewels at very reasonable prices when you
absolutely. I was talking to Mike about this. I went into the Falcon room because my friend Paul Yu, that has run the big Harbeth group for years, has always said, you know, you got to hear the Falcons, right?
They're so good.
Oh my God. You know, I immediately said to him, I think I need to talk to the people at Falcon. I was really, really impressed by
every
the Falcon
time
speaker.
I hear them.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have picked those electronics to go with them. But what I heard, those models I heard, and I like their price points, Paul was right. I'm gelling with the sound. The Falcons were excellent speakers. Very musical. Very musical.
It's definitely in that like the Harbeth, it gives you the Harbeth vibe.
Yes.
But well, Falcon does a lot, but they give you that P3, the original P3 vibe.
Yeah.
Or what is it?
LS35A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic sound. Did you get in that room, Mike? The little Falcons?
I think I did. On Friday, I just did all the rooms within 3 hours.
Got it.
And I came back on Saturday for back to the rooms that really impressed me. And so they probably deserved another listen on my part, but I know I visited them once and not for that much time.
You know what I'm curious about? One room that always gets good sound at the show, and I haven't read much about it, is the Joseph Audio room. Did you get in there?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of my honorable mention rooms.
Good.
Nick and Jeff always managed to do a really nice show. They play great music too.
Did they play tape? Because Nick had brought his brand new Statement tape stage.
I think they were playing tape. I can't recall.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah, that's always a really good one. Anything else stand out for you?
Yeah, I made a list here, so bear with me. Maybe go to Rick.
All right. Well, Rick.
Yes. Hey, Rick.
Hey.
Rick. The token Rick.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about the show?
Well, I thought it was very well attended, except for Sunday, of course, with the bad weather. You know. But it was well attended. And, you know, when you go to a show, you want to hear things that you wouldn't normally hear. And when you hear the MBLs and the big Clarises, you know, you're not going to hear those many places at all.
Right.
So that's what I always like to do to show, is to go and hear things that are hard to find, that you wouldn't hear somewhere else, have a huge sound stage, big sound. And in those two rooms, I mean, it was like you could just stay there all afternoon in either one of them because it was so out of the ordinary, so impressive. So, you know, those big rooms, big speakers, great sources.
Yeah.
Hard to beat that.
Yeah, I think next year we'll make some announcements, but next year we'll have about 18 to 20 large rooms.
Wow.
So
that's great.
More than triple what we've got this year. So, you know, that's going to be exciting.
I think that'll be exciting, Mike, because many of these systems really need the space.
They do need the space.
And it's unfortunate that when you walk into a room that has fantastic gear with exceptional speakers, because of the constraints of the space, you just don't get to hear what they really can do.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. I remember one year Focal brought some grand utopias or something ones, and tried to put them in a little hotel room. And, you know, a lot of times people don't understand. It's,
with the name statements.
With the name statement. I mean, that's a lot of gear for a little room, you know. So,
but that's very true about the room size. I mean, my main room is 23 feet wide by 30 feet long. And it was funny because I came home and I showed my wife the pictures, and I showed her the pictures of the giant Clarises, and she looked at me and she goes, "If you want those, we need a bigger house."
Yes, you need a good room. You need a good room for those, for sure.
So, Mike, I have a couple others. Let me just throw these ones out. The Acora VAC room, that room sounded extremely well.
Did you get a chance to hear the new DAC from Lampezator?
That's where I was going.
Okay.
I'm surprised that hardly anyone has written or talked about the Poseidon. I thought it sounded terrific.
That's fantastic.
I got to hear some vinyl, but I mostly listened to digital in that room, and it sounded terrific.
That's good.
And then the last room that I'll mention for now. And these guys always really do a good show is the Volti Border Patrol room.
Great guy.
It's their gear is reasonably priced. It sounds really good, and they go to all the shows. So kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One of the rooms that stood out for me is my dear friend from Toronto, Win Wong. Of Win Audio. He had brought the Tidal speakers.
Oh, the Wimbergs.
Oh, the Wimbergs. That's right.
Yeah.
They look so similar. I always get them confused. But the Wimbergs and the Karan Electronics.
That was a good sounding room.
That was just, I went in there and they just had a ease to it, a nice flow. Everything sounded right. And, you know, I had heard Win's room in Toronto at the Toronto show. And, you know, he got great sound there and he got great sound at our show. So that was something that stood out for me as a really
I agree, Mike.
I
really like that room. But once again, that's a room that's a speaker that deserves
needs a bigger
more
room.
space.
Yes, agreed.
I did ask him if that was a Diamond tweeter, and that was not.
Oh, was not?
That was not Diamond tweeter. And it was very clean. Very clean sounding speaker.
Very good. Very good. Anything else that stands out for you? Any other rooms that you can think of?
I think the Lansky, did I pronounce that correct?
Yes,
the room by Oz.
Yeah, the plasma tweeter. Yeah.
I thought that room, even though it was a simpler system to last year's, I think it sounded better to my ears this year. He had the Viva integrated.
Yes.
With the esoteric CD player, and I think a Thrax DAC with the Albedo cables. That sounded really good.
Yeah, the Viva, the magic of the Viva was coming through for sure through the Lansky's. I've always liked that plasma tweeter, and it's one of those things they've been perfecting every year that's been getting better and better and better, you know? Mike, any questions? Anything come through, or has it been pretty quiet?
Oh, well, we got Buddy in the chat. He came in. He just wanted to say hello to everybody, but the chat's a little bit slow at the moment.
No
Again,
problem.
if anyone has any questions for us, just let us know.
Well,
it
was great seeing Buddy at the show. Did he come up to your room?
He did.
Yeah,
it was good to see him, as always. It's
Yeah.
always good to see Buddy.
Absolutely.
Hey, it was good to also have vinyl being sold.
Yes.
In the lobby. You didn't have to go to the 12th floor and go into a room that would have been really, really cramped.
people have asked for the marketplace for so long, and this year we were able to carve out a little space and have vinyl for sale. And I think next year, you know, we'll have even more space that we'll be able to do that, and look to bring in more vendors for the marketplace. You know, so that's something that we're excited to do. I don't think we've picked a date for 2025, but we've certainly got some surprises for people that they'll be pleased with.
Yeah, we sure do.
And everybody needs to keep in mind that new venues have new challenges, so we'll work through it. But we're going to go through and make sure that we do our due diligence as best we can going into next year. But we've essentially outgrown the facility we're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's time to move on to bigger and better things. And you know, it won't be perfect. We know that, but it will be fun.
It'll be fun.
We will.
I think
fun.
we'll manage.
Yeah, we'll manage.
So how many rooms did you have 6 years ago? Wasn't it like 40?
So when we first started in our first year, I think we had 40 rooms. And then this year we purchased 80 rooms from the hotel and then had to go back and beg for 3 more. So we had 83. And that was kind of it. I mean, you know, by the time you've got all the people that are visiting from out of town and you've got the press rooms and other things like that, that's about what we're capped at. Yeah. So moving to a larger venue, you know, we don't have any aspiration to be the #1 show. That's not our goal. Our goal is to be the fun show, the most fun. You know, Rocky Mountain was a great fun show. You know, you and I met 15 years ago or 20 years ago at Rocky Mountain.
That's right.
And that's a vibe that we're trying to keep going and pushes, you know, we're trying to have the fun show. And I think we've done that 6 years in a row. And we're going to hopefully do that, you know, continue on. Yeah. So, Mike, anything from your side?
I mean, all I did the whole show was sit in one spot and run a room, and that's what I did.
And you did DJ. What were you seeing this year compared to earlier years in terms of demographics? Like, you know, we worked for 12 months to attract people who were not necessarily audiophiles, but they were, you know, families, you know, younger people, college students. You know, did you see a change in the demographics and a wider variety of folks?
That's a good question. I think this year, yeah, it was definitely the most diverse that I've seen. A lot of families, a lot of people actually from out of country as well.
Right.
Which was totally cool and awesome to see. But yeah, definitely the most diverse. My room was full
all the time,
like 90% of the show. Yeah. I didn't have time to do anything.
Right.
It was me and Richard from Shinyata in that room.
Right.
He's a great teammate. It was great. But yeah, as far as turnout, it was very diverse, very, very interesting to see.
Yeah,
just all the different.
And you worked for probably 2 days to try and solve some of the networking issues that we have. These are things that people don't see in the background.
Yeah,
and we literally had to set up the laptop as a wireless access point.
That's right.
To pull in the Wi-Fi from the hotel. Then we needed a different wireless access point so that you could control the device.
That's right.
And then we needed a router and a switch.
Well, yeah, a wireless access point and a switch.
Yeah, it was a challenge, a networking challenge.
And last minute,
trying
to figure everything out. And at the 11th hour, I got it.
Yeah, got it to work.
You know, I have another observation of the show this year, and hopefully we'll see the same continue at Expona, is a little more variety in the music.
Oh. True.
The one song that continues to be played is Liberty.
Okay, right.
But outside of that, I don't think I heard any Diana Krall. I don't think I heard
Keith Don't Go.
Keith Don't Go. Exactly.
No. Keith, please
go. So it's so one of the things that I enjoy when I go to the shows is to find new music.
Right.
Yeah.
And I left the show with at least a dozen or so new tunes and artists that I'm listening to at home.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good observation. I also found that when you would go into the rooms, they were totally willing. Hey, what do you want to listen to? Here's the iPad. Find what you want. Yep. They really engaged and were very open to a variety of types of music. And I thought it was great because, again, like I said in the beginning, you get this stereotype of it's nothing but classical music and this and that.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the variety music, and I as well was Shazamming a couple of songs so I could come home and get them down on my playlist.
I was up on, I think it was maybe I was on the 4th floor, and I heard somebody put on an Earth, Wind, and Fire song, and literally 10 people went running down the hallway to that room.
Yeah,
and it was
refreshing.
Yeah, it was refreshing to hear, like you guys said, a variety of music.
Yeah, I had a lot of people pulling out Shazam in my room.
Really?
For sure.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
So I mean, that's what we want. We want just something different.
Yeah, something different.
So what do you guys think about the DIY work?
The DIY?
The DIY.
Yeah, well, John,
rooms.
John, we had egged him on for 5-6 years to do a room, and he's a DIYer, and he has been since the 70s, and I know he worked hard on it for about a year, and he should be commended because, I mean, he's not selling anything. He's not there to do anything other than he wanted to challenge himself, and I think he did a great job, and he had a good partner. I forget the name of the company that supplied the cables and some
Via Blue.
Via Blue. So, he had a good partner there, and they worked well together, and they set up the room. And people need to understand that, DIY is different. It's not meant to be sold and, pretty and, that kind of thing. But it they come up with some really good ideas and concepts to promote,
Well, people will be surprised. I visited with John a few times during the weekend, and there were some folks that were interested in buying the speaker.
Yeah.
And so the room sounded really well. Now he had about a half a dozen subwoofers in that room. I don't know if people realize that. He loves subs.
He does.
But he sets them up right.
Yes.
He spent a lot of time measuring and adjusting before the show.
Absolutely.
Did a great job.
Now, I didn't get to AJ's room, but I've heard good things about the speakers, the Soundfield Audio. They were tall, skinny speakers. Did you go into that room?
I did, and
Okay.
he sounded really, really good. And once again, just like John, he spent a lot of time planning, and AJ is one of those guys that'll play anything.
Yeah, exactly.
For you. And so there were actually, while I was visiting with him, quite a few people came back for the second, third time to listen to his speakers.
Got it.
So I think he had a good show.
Got it.
So we do have another question. This is from Paul Halford in tropical Scotland.
Okay.
He's asking if we'll be showing the same systems at Expona.
So at Expona, as it sits right now, we will be showing the Clarisys Minuet in the Hagel room. Our Clarisys dealer in Chicago, Home Audio, will be showing the Clarisys speakers with the Electro Compagnie Electronics.
Okay.
And then we
Which model?
The Minuets.
Minuets as well?
Yeah, Minuets as well. And then because they're ideal for a smaller showroom, But then in a big room, Ken Stevens and the team from Convergent Audio Technology will be showing the auditoriums.
Oh, wow.
What people don't know is Saturday night after the show ended, Ken lugged down his CAT amplifiers and preamplifier and various other things and his cables and hooked it up to the auditoriums in the big room, and we listened all night, and it was fantastic. I mean, he wanted to
Those were beautiful amps that they had there.
They were.
Those were beautiful. Yeah. I'm a sucker for a great tube amp. Those things were beautiful.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And he always has wonderful sounding equipment. But he has been to the store multiple times, and he had heard the Clarisys, and he said, at your show, I'm going to bring my amps down, and I want to hear them on your speakers on my amps, and we did. And he told me, he said, within the first 10 seconds I knew this is the speaker I want to use at the show. So
now, Mike, he didn't bring down 6 amps, right? Because
he brought down 2 amps, and we used the passive crossovers.
Okay.
So I've been egging him on to bring 6 amplifiers, because I said, look, you could technically bring your statement for the bass, your other model for the mid-range, and another model for the tweeter, and showcase 3 different CAT amplifiers with our active crossover. But I think he's still trying to process that idea, But nonetheless, at a very minimum, it's going to be the CAT statement amplifiers with our active crossover, all analog active crossover, and it will be the auditoriums. So we're excited about that. But
That's
yes,
gonna be
Clarisys
great.
will be at Expona in 3 different rooms.
So
There
you
you go,
don't really
Paul.
need to have 6 tube amplifiers to run the auditoriums.
No. And the funny thing is the Active is getting so much attention. I had a phone call about it not more than an hour ago, and the gentleman he's determined to go Active. And so I'm trying to advise him that most people are going to have 3 stereo amplifiers. 6 monos we understand that's out there, but 3 stereo amplifiers, that might actually be doable.
It's doable.
Yeah. So that's what we're starting to discuss with customers about it.
Great.
Yeah. And people ask, well, what's the benefit? Well, first of all, there's nothing in between the amplifier and the ribbon of the speaker. It's as pure as you can get.
Yes.
So each ribbon, the mid-range, the tweeter, or the bass, is getting exactly the frequency response it needs from that particular amplifier. And it's also better for the amplifier as well. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's something that's been done for years. We know that. There's been manufacturers and DIY guys that have done it for years. But for us, it's pretty advanced. And the fact that it's all analog, there's no DSP involved, we're very excited about that.
Yeah, it's great to see Florian continue to innovate and try to push the performance of the speaker further.
Agreed.
Because in the pro audio world, you see active speakers all the time. In studios, in concert venues. Yeah. They're all active.
But to be clear, though, these are not
active speakers. It's an active crossover.
Right.
Correct.
But the same basic idea where you have like one amp dedicated to one driver.
And technically, you can use a solid state amplifier on the bass.
Yes.
And you could use a sweet combination of tube amplifiers on the mid-range and
on the top
tweeter.
Yeah.
So you get more flexibility and control.
Yeah.
So that's something we like.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're bringing a lot of good stuff to Expo.
Yeah. We have to load it all back up again.
Man, it is going to be, that's just...
Yeah, that stuff starts to get palletized around the middle of March because it's got to be at the warehouse for Expona around the end of March, because I think Expona is actually earlier this year. Isn't it around like the 10th or something of April?
I think it's the 14th through the 16th.
14th through the 16th. Okay, so we'll still have a little bit of time. But yeah, no, that's something we'll be doing. Yeah.
Are you going to Expona, Michael?
Me?
I'm actually going to be doing the Dallas show next month.
Oh.
Do you know how many rooms they're going to have? I'm curious about that.
I was checking out the list of exhibitors, and there's actually more than I thought. I don't know off the top of my head, but you can go to their website and check it out. There were a bunch, and there were also some bigger companies that weren't at Florida that are going there. And I was surprised because I would have naturally thought they would be at the Florida show just because it's such a large show.
Right.
So it's going to be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, it'll be very good.
It's a big hotel they're at.
A big hotel. That's good. I'll be curious how many rooms they end up with. Dallas is a great market. Texas is a great market for audiophiles, and we'll be curious to see how it goes. And we wish the team well,
it's interesting. A lot of people don't realize this, but to your point, so we've got now here in the DFW area more Fortune 500 headquarters than New York City.
Wow.
It's the #1 Rolls-Royce market in all of North America. It's the #1 luxury car market in all of North America. So I think HiFi is just a natural blend for this area.
I think they have the #1 Porsche dealership in Dallas, don't they?
They do,
Champion is in...
Champion
is
in Florida?
In Florida.
Okay. That must be #2 then.
But they have the largest BMW dealer there in the Plano area.
Yeah.
It's definitely a growing area for sure. Texas.
Yeah, since the pandemic, it seems like everybody's moved there.
Yeah, true.
I think you need to open a Suncoast branch in Dallas.
I'm in. I am in.
Well, I have recently rebranded our distribution arm, and Luxury HiFi Distribution is the new name and the new website, luxuryhifedistribution.com. And we're doing block audio, we're doing Clarisys, of course, and we've just recently signed a contract with Tobian Sound Systems out of Switzerland, and high efficiency horn speakers, and also SET amplifiers, tube preamplifiers, that sort of thing. So we'll be excited to get that in the store, and we're currently in talks with other companies for distribution. So we're building out that line. We're looking at a few different types of products, and excited to do that. But
Mike, that branding is pretty portable, so it's so you can take it to Texas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, and I will tell you one thing that Texas will kick Florida's butt on, and that's our barbecue.
That's true. That's true. That's true. We have the seafood, you have the barbecue, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah,
yes.
True. Hey guys, anything else? Anything else you want to wrap up with? Or
I'm good.
All right. Well, Rick, Mike.
No,
I'm good.
Thank you very much for your time today, and thanks for everybody for watching. And we'll be back with some more videos in the future. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're